Welcome back to Breaking Bullying. This week, we're going to sit down with an author and talk about what inspired her to write her book, which is now Amazon's #1 bestseller. So I'm going to hit that music and get started. Joining me this week is author of Amazon's #1 best-selling book, From Bullied to Brave, Kimberly Young. Kimberly, thank you for being on today.
Thank you for inviting me. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah, so Kimberly, what inspires you to write your book?
Well, I was a teacher during the pandemic. I taught STEM for grades K to 3. And sadly, I heard in our school district that there were some youth suicides. And then my sister's best friend, her 12-year-old daughter, committed suicide. So I had this just little wish in the back of my mind. Maybe there's something that I could do to help these children. And strangely enough, a year later, I was in a writing retreat. I didn't expect it to happen, but at the end of the retreat, the book came out. Just I was not expecting that, and I realized it's my story of being bullied, but of course brought to modern times. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is my mission. This is to tell my story and the story of girls in middle school, and to help them. So that's what I'm doing now.
Perfect. Going back to in the COVID time, COVID was a tough time for everybody. Um, do you know the reasons why kids were attempting suicide?
Yes. Well, especially was with adolescents, and it's because their whole life is right about being with their friends and having that social structure. And then now they were isolated from their friends. And then, from what I understand, cyberbullying also increased. And so that isolation and increase in cyberbullying is two of the main causes.
Okay. And then you had some bullying experience yourself. Are you willing to share some of that?
Sure. So when I started middle school, my best friend from elementary school was in the same class with me, and I was in honors classes. So unlike most kids, I was with the same children, same students all day. And when we'd go to lunch, there were three of us. So there was my best friend, and in the book, I call her Ellie, and there was this other girl, Sean. So I'm using the names from the book. And what happened is that Sean became jealous, and over time she started excluding me and only talking to Ellie. And and then one day I walked into the cafeteria, and all my friends were sitting at the table. I walked up, everybody got up and left, and then it just went on from there. So there were letters, there were phone calls, from the kids making fun of me, telling me I was ugly. They didn't want to be my friend. I didn't have any friends. I was stupid. And then what I added in the book, because I'm 61, I also added a cyberbullying episode because that's something that happens these days. So, and I know my bullying story is mild compared to what other children go through, especially these days. But what's interesting, it was really traumatizing for me and it really hurt my self esteem. So, writing the book was actually cathartic for me. And then I actually worked for a coach, and it's one of the tools that are back here. I worked with a coach just to help heal some of the images that I have.
So going back to your school, you were the popular kid in like elementary school, correct? And
I was.
then it was middle school where everything started changing for you. Is that the correct timeline of it?
Yes,
Do you
it's
know
true.
why your friend was jealous of you to begin with?
I really don't know. At that time, I was too young to understand, but I what I saw that was happening is she didn't want a threesome. She wanted my best friend for her own. And this is really common. Bullying tends to increase in middle school, particularly with girls. And this kind of bullying it's called relational bullying. And so, because now it's like everybody's kind of seeing, well, where do they fall in this whole sort of social structure at school? So she definitely wanted to be the top dog.
Yeah, kids are tough. I have girls, and I remember one's a 17-year-old, and she's got her own drama. Seems like they call it teen drama, and it's tough to
Hmm.
navigate. And they seem to fight a lot. So, but it's common for kids though to, you have friends in elementary school, they grow out of it, and middle school they get a whole new set of friends as well. But this friend did she start a rumor because it seemed like she got the whole class turned against you? What happened?
She,
How did this all went down? Because it started with one kid, and then next day you go to your table and nobody likes you.
right. Yeah, and again, it happened over time. So
Okay.
what I noticed is that when the three of us were together, little by little, she just started excluding me and only talking to my best friend. And then what happened after that is after school we had like crafts classes, and I went to it was we're doing tie-dye shirts, and when I walked in I noticed that the girls were ignoring me. And then after, at the end of class, someone like left a note on my desk, and that was the start of saying, we don't want to be your friend, you're ugly, leave us alone, don't come around us anymore. And then it was after that when I went to the cafeteria the next
Okay.
day, and then everybody left. Yeah.
How did you handle that, especially in the cafeteria sitting? Did you sit by yourself that day then?
Um, I'm going to tell you the truth. It was so traumatic. I really don't remember what
Okay,
I did. I just remember being devastated. The saving grace is there were two boys in my class who were also considered underdogs, but they were the nicest boys, and those two boys became my friends, and they were my saving grace. So eventually, I sat with them, and they were real champions for me.
good. So did the bullying end at some point in high school?
The bullying actually ended toward the middle of that year. So what's interesting is that we were best friends. My mom was really good friends with Ellie's mom, and so my mom just couldn't take it anymore. So she finally called Ellie's mom and just said, my daughter is being bullied. It's the whole group. Is there anything you can do? And her mom responded by saying, wow, she knew something was going on because Ellie was hiding in her room talking on the phone, and there were all these secretive things going on. And so she talked to her daughter and told her that she was disappointed. And this is interesting because the next day in PE class, Ellie came to me and she was crying, and she just told me she was really sorry and she didn't know why she had acted that way. And it was it was lovely because we became friends again, and because she stood up, and it's kind of interesting because she became an upstander.
Mhm.
The other kids left me alone. I didn't have any problems with them after that, and after that, frankly, I changed schools because my parents just didn't. I didn't want to be there anymore.
Did you approach your mom with your issues or did she approach you?
I approached my mom well, did I approach her? It was kind of both. I mean, because I came home so devastated. I mean, every day she said she would look out the window because I took the bus and she could see me walking home, and I was just, all hunched over and eyes red and crying. So there was no way I could hide it.
That's great though, because your
And
mom took action and the bullying ended. And
yes,
it's got a happy story with it, which is
yes,
great to hear for once.
it is great to hear. And it took time because she did approach another parent and they were really rude to her. And so, as you know, you never know how it's going to go when you approach a parent. But once she approached the best friend of my mom, then that made a difference.
So Kimberly, in your book, you tell a good story, and it's fictional sort of, but it's based off of your own experiences, correct?
Correct.
What type of tools do you give children to help with bullying? And I should back up. Is this book for children? Is it for adults? Is it for both?
That's a great question. I wrote it for tweens, so 10 to 13-year-olds, and yet the feedback I've been getting is that parents and grandparents are reading it, and they're reading it with their children. So sometimes the parents have been bullied, like in one case, the parent had been bullying, but the daughter never had. But the daughter has had to deal with mean girls. And so it was great because it opened the door for the mom to talk with her daughter and find out what kind of experience her daughter was having in school, and even just kind of to help her be prepared because this is a younger girl. She's not in middle school yet, so the mom thought, this can help prepare for middle school. And then again, I've had parents who've had children who've been bullied and they also read it together and then they get ideas.
No, I'm in my mid 40s, so my memory is not the best when it comes to middle school girls, even though I have a bunch of girls right now in my household. But what's like the number one issue that middle school girls get picked on for?
Well, it can be a couple different things. So one is it can be that the bully actually feels less than, they have low self-esteem, and so they pick on someone they see as being having even lower self-esteem than them. It can also be that a girl is jealous, which is what happened in my case. So sometimes it can be that another girl is popular, and so then a girl decides, okay, I'm going to take her down. So there's this whole thing that starts in middle school about being popular and are you in the right group? And so some girls just decide, okay, well, I'm going to be at the top, and I'm going to bring down the other girl who's popular or the one who I'm jealous of.
What tools do you give to these young girls on how to handle that case?
So there's a lot of different tools in the book, and I again it's based on my story, but the story of other girls. And what I wrote into the story is sort of some things that I wish that I would have had. So one of the things is, definitely talking to the school. It doesn't always happen, as you talk to Drew from the Bullying Recovery Resource Center. The schools are supposed to take action. So, to talk to the school, talk to the teacher. If your child needs it, to get counseling for them to help them work on their own self esteem and the issues. And then there's a couple other tools in the book. So if you go to my website, it's the same title of the book as the book. So it's from bulliedtobrave.com. So if you go to the website and you look up in the right hand corner, there's actually it's called there's an assessment that teens or children can take, and it's great to do it with their parents. So it helps them assess how are they feeling. So are they feeling sad? Are they feeling angry, frustrated? Are they feeling afraid, terrified? So it kind of has that whole range of emotions. And then it also looks at how our children, how are they coping? So what are they doing to meet their needs? And of course, sometimes they're not coping well. So they might not want to be going to school. They might be having stomach aches. They might be depressed. So how are they coping? And then how could they meet their needs? And then the last part is really healthy ways to meet your needs, which is really important. So that's the part that's especially important. And I tell the child and the parent to work together to choose a couple of those things that are really going to help them. So that's one tool. And it was developed by a friend who's a coach and counselor, and she's worked on it for 20 years. What I love about it is very simple, it's very easy, but it's actually very powerful. So and it's actually really helpful for adults. She originally designed it for adults, but then now she and I took a look at it and we thought, hey, teens could use this too, teens and tweens. So we changed it up so it would be great for tweens.
Of course.
So that's one.
Okay. That's a great tool. Any advice for parents or students if a child goes to the school and they're not getting the results, that they're not getting taken seriously, what's what's their next step of action they can take?
Okay, if they're not being taken seriously, I do recommend something like what Drew has in Colorado, which is the Bullying Recovery Resource Center, because they help people deal with that. It's really important to document everything. So if there's letters, notes, if it's cyberbullying, you want to keep those posts, and after you document all of it, then of course, block the students who are sending or posting. And then the next thing is you can take legal action. And so, that's what some parents have had to do is to take legal action. So you want to let the school know that you're serious. And the laws vary for different states, but you can go on to the stopbullying.gov, that website, and you can actually they have a web page that shows, what are the laws, what are the policies for different states for schools.
I've looked at a school's anti-bullying policy, and I'm not going to say which one it is, but I looked at an anti-bullying policy, and in order for the principal to look at it, you had to go onto the district's website, print off this form, and it looks like to me, it looks like a parent has to fill it out, and then they'll look at it if it's bullying or not, which I think is a stupid thing. Why can't we take a kid's word for it? Because when I was being bullied, I wasn't gonna tell my parents about it. Forget that. It's embarrassing. And when I saw
Yeah.
that, I'm like, is this what the school thinks? This is how it should work? This does not make any sense at all. So hopefully in my area we can get that changed because that's not right. It should just be a kid's word for it. What's your
Uh,
in How do you envision your book making a positive impact on individuals?
oh, I love that question. Thanks for asking. So what I'm hoping, and actually what I've been seeing, is that I've had people buy it and then they've bought multiple copies and they've given them to schools, libraries, and then to youth they know that need the help. And I've kept the price down. So I put it on sale. It released December 1st and I put it on sale for $3.99. I'm probably going to keep it on sale for a couple more weeks because I just love that people are doing that they're actually sharing it. And so, yes, that's what I envision and hope will happen with the book. And will be in my efforts to get it out to schools, libraries, where get it, even counseling centers, where children and parents have access to it.
Yeah, I think books can be kind of boring for kids sometimes, but I think having a book like this with advice and hearing it from another person, like, hey, I went through the same thing too. This is what I did, is a great tool to give to a kid. And even if your kid's not a reader, maybe read it to your kids like one chapter a day. Have them sit there and just listen to you and read it.
Well, you know what I'm going to show you. Here's the book. It is not. It is a very quick read.
Oh,
So, and I have a focus group of tweens, and it's pretty cool. About 7 tweens, and they loved the book. So the story goes fast. It's intriguing, and so and so again, this is a new mission for me, and so eventually I'm hoping, not even hoping, this is what I'm doing. I'm working on a speech, so I'm working out to give talks in schools. I'm looking into what changes culture, so I'm hearing some really cool stories about how you can change the culture around bullying in schools and in organizations. So that's my next step. So the book was a gift. It's a launching point.
let's jump ahead. I'm really curious. How do you change a culture in a school to end bullying? Because I have my beliefs. I mean, for myself, I believe we gotta start the kids young, start teaching the anti-bullying techniques at a young age. Um, what are your thoughts though to change a culture to get it changing over time?
So certainly it's got to be, three tiered. So we've got to look at, the policies that schools have, the procedures that they have, how are they treating children? And it's starting with the teachers and the administration, and then out to the students. And so, yes, it helps to have children do things that help them build self-esteem. So, I love what you're doing with martial arts, things like that, help them feel strong, build their own self-esteem. Also, the school that I heard about, and I'm still following up on this story, is really cool. Is I have a friend, she's now in her 20s, and she went to a school where their culture was, we don't do that here. And so there was a new kid that moved into the school, and she actually tried to bully and be mean, but every time she did it, someone would come and stand up for the target and say, we don't do that here. So it's all of that,
That's
what
awesome.
policies and procedures, yes, and what do the kids, down to the kids.
And
Yep.
that's what I love to teach kids. So I'm working on this new anti-bullying presentation, and it's going to be
Oh,
about superpowers. So it's kind of like the same thing that I give right now, but I'm going to fix up a little bit. But I'm going to tell these kids today, I'm going to give you a superpower. Who wants a superpower? And then the power is going to be how to end bullying. I mean, you're going to get this power. And this is what you have to do to to use this power. I'm teaching them how to use it and what it's for. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing it. So,
oh, I totally love
um,
it. I
but
can't wait to hear more.
yeah, but when you said that story, like that's kind of what I'm gonna be working on with these kids. Like we gotta be able to stand up. And for myself, it's hard to get that across the teenagers, the high schools, the middle schools. So I'm gonna go with the elementary schools first for myself, where I feel more comfortable with. And majority of my martial arts classes, my school that I work with right now are kids between 5 years old and like 12 years old. So I work with that age range the most. I have adults in my school, but the biggest part of my school is that age group. So I'm really comfortable with that age group. I know how to relate to them better. But
That I
how
can totally relate. I
yeah.
can totally. That's my age group too, because I taught. I taught third grade, and then I taught kindergarten through third STEM. I mean, so yeah, those are my peeps. So I also see that there. I mean, and then you just start young, and then it just carries through to middle school and high school, and carries through life because there is bullying in the workplace also. So you get these skills for life.
But it's tough if we don't teach these kids basic manners and we don't enforce these manners at a young age. It's hard to enforce that at an older age when they're much older, and then when they get to the workplace, they're not gonna have no social skills because all they know how to do is being a jerk, and they're gonna wonder why people don't like them.
Yeah, to me, it starts young where you teach children respect, and that means that they need to respect their parents too. I think, you when you're a parent, you don't get to be your child's best friend all the time because you have to set boundaries. If you don't set boundaries, and this is what I saw as a teacher, you don't set boundaries. Like I had like I think of one boy in particular who was causing trouble in my class, and it was obvious it was him. And I told the mom, and she's like, "Oh no, my boy wouldn't do that." I'm like, I found, it was scissors and markers. Not a big deal. He was cutting up markers and making a mess. Uh, And so she blamed another child in the class. Okay. Then later on, he gets to middle school because he's still at my school. And he actually did like a false alarm, saying that someone had a gun and all that.
Oh, man.
If you don't give children structure and boundaries, they will keep pushing, 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 pushing to see, is anyone going to stop me?
Changing culture is a big part of ending bullying. That's what we have to do, and I hate to tell the teachers in the school, that's your job, and let the parents get away with it or let the community get away with it. It's a community effort. If the community wants to end bullying, start volunteering at your local programs. For myself, I volunteer with the Greater Mankato United Way. I started their anti-bullying program.
Oh,
Um,
excellent.
People can do stuff like that. They're always looking for volunteers and help. And what drives me crazy is one time we had this school bus bullying issue going on for a while. This was back 2017. It was a long time ago. Um, Bus bullying was a big thing for like that for that school year. I threw out there on this Facebook group, "Hey, I'm willing to help teach your kids confidence free of charge for 2 weeks, no big deal. I'll take care of them. You would think I would get some positive, you know, stuff feedback from that.
Yeah.
I got so much hate from that. People were
Oh.
pissed. Like, you're just trying to promote your business. Oh, look at this guy, another business owner trying to throw his name out there, take advantage of a bad situation. Nobody wanted help. Nobody wanted help. All they want to do is complain more. And then they started, now they started, I mean, you can't bully me anymore. They're trying to throw it back on me. So what I did, I became a bus driver myself. And I
Oh.
lasted 1 year driving school bus. I I had a fight break out on my bus, and that was it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be a bus driver anymore because I was afraid of getting ridiculed online again for not paying attention or trying to keep the kids safe on the bus. Like, I'm trying to drive this, 35-foot long bus down the road, and there's a kid, a second grader, attacked a kindergartner, and she wasn't even provoking him. And this kid always has issues on the school bus. Like, every time we come on, the bus atmosphere would just get bad. But school policy is, well, we'll kick him off for a week. He'll learn his lesson, and he gets to ride the bus next week. And so I'm like, I'm done with this. So, but I feel like sometimes people don't want the help, and
Uh,
it drives me nuts. They're better off complaining
wow.
about it. And but that was my experience back in like 2017, 18. It was right before COVID started. But it's like, man, I'm just trying to help you kids out, and all you want to do is complain about it. So
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that because what you wanted to do was admirable, and I think it's amazing that you drove a bus. It's enough responsibility to drive a bus and have responsibility for all those children. And so it shouldn't bus drivers should not having to be policing the bus while they're driving. It seems to me like you're saying, it'd be great to have a volunteer system or something, where a
yeah,
parent or someone rides on the bus to keep, or you pay, have to
I
have
think
someone to
I think they
help.
did start that, but my bus didn't have it. It had to be qualified because I had the private school kids and
Mm,
and I had these kids that go to bridges. So, so because when I became a bus driver, I said I don't want these issues on my bus because I own a business in town. I don't need to be getting slammed, you know, online. And so they were nice enough to give me. I had a morning route. I only did it once in the morning, but yeah, it lasted a year. And once that fight broke out, I'm like, gosh, here we go. I'm gonna have this mom saying it's my fault that their kid got kicked off or my kid got attacked, and you literally can't do nothing about it. It happens so fast, and you have to watch the road. You can't look up the whole time and not look at the
exactly. You
road.
shouldn't have to. Yeah, you shouldn't have to
But
be responsible for watching the kids. It's a huge responsibility just to drive a bus. I mean, just to drive a car, but to drive a bus with all those children, goodness.
yeah, it's crazy. But anyways, going back to your book, how did you come up with that name from bully to brave?
That's a great question. I I don't honestly don't know. It just popped in. And it's interesting because I had a writing coach. I did that retreat and then I hired him as my coach to help me write it and publish it. And he's like, oh, he'd said before just to everybody, you're going to come up with your own title, but it's probably not going to work. So I told him, I go, well, okay, I want this title from Bullied to Brave. And he was like, I love it. So I don't know,
Well,
sometimes it's just creative, the creative flow.
well, I love it too because if you listen to my podcast, we've had celebrities on here who you would think would never get bullied, and
Mm.
their lives turned out to be awesome, like amazing. Some of them are, one's an A-list actor, Sean Kanan. He's on Bold and the Beautiful every week, which I don't watch, by the way. But I do watch Karate Kid movies.
Me neither.
But,
Yeah.
we had Billy Blanks. He was bullied, and he's a he's a martial arts superstar action hero on TV. Like in the '80s, he was like an action hero. So you have all these people who are bullied when they're young, but their lives turned out to be amazing at the end of it. I should say at the end of their life. At the end of the bullying, when they overcame it, their lives turned out to be amazing. One of our guests named Jay Putty, he wrote a hit song all because of bullying. So he has a song called "The Best Days Are Yet to Come," which is now starting to hit the top 40 in radio stations. And that song
Wow.
was inspired by his bullying stories. And it's like, you know, I think the most important part working with kids is teaching them resilience and perseverance. If they can just be resilient and have perseverance, they will overcome this and they're going to end up being in a lot better place than their bullier is.
Yes, and sometimes the difficult things that happen to us in life can actually help us develop our greatest strengths. Not, it's not what you'd wish for someone, and yet, there is a truth to that. Because it's like, look at what we're both doing now. We're both
Yeah.
serving children. Yeah, thing.
What I'm trying to come up with, and I can't do it on my own, but what we need is a fun youth peer-to-peer anti-bullying program. The ones I've looked for online, they don't really have it. They don't do stuff like that. I'm like, why can't we make one up? Why can't we just take groups of kids who want to do this, start at elementary, teach them what to recognize, what's bullying behavior, how to be an upstander, make it fun, give them a cool T-shirt to wear, or like a wristband. Apparently, wristbands are coming back again,
Yes,
and
they are.
you know, teach them to be upstanders, upstanders. You know,
Yes.
we need to come up with a peer-to-peer program. If anyone's listening that can do that has the time to do that, I mean, that's like a home run. It'd be great to see. Because, like you said, the speeches are great. Going to school is talking for, one day is great, but the next day, especially with a kid, they already forgot and moved on. It doesn't work.
Well, I love what you're saying. Actually, I may do that. So I
Go
love
for
your
it.
idea.
Well, I've been talking to
If you want to
people about it.
if you want to collaborate, let me know.
I'll definitely collaborate. I just can't do it by myself. That's the only thing. I just need more people involved. And actually, I do have some people who could offer some time, but we all got day jobs. I don't have a day job. I don't really have a job. I run a school, but we all got stuff to do. It has to be something that we could do over time, or we can just give so many hours a week to put towards it and then throw it out there. But yeah, we need like a peer to peer program. So, Kimberly, what is going on behind you? What is all these pictures? You got current you, new, bold steps, friends. I take it this is from your book, correct?
Yes, this is from the book. So this is a process called Draw Your Future, and it was developed by Patty Drobovolsky. She actually has a TED Talk, so it's really cool to watch. So you can look her up at Up Your Creative Genius. So this is a tool that helped me heal. It's a tool that I've used with children, so second and third graders, and also with middle school students. So basically, what you do is you write what's happening in your current reality. You draw it and write it. So you look at what's going well. And I just have a couple things. So I put family. So we're just saying this child, okay, their family is very supportive. But I did the cloud for bullying. Didn't mean to quite put that so close together, but that's okay because maybe the family's helping them overcome bullying. There's another picture here, like pets. So that was really crucial for me when I was being bullied because I had my wonderful dog, Geraldine, who was my best friend at that time. So you write what's happening, and then you write what do you want to happen because kids are so imaginative. And so that's the new reality. So you can put that over on the right side of your page. And so, what do I want? Well, I'm being bullied. I want to have friends. So I want to find a way to make new friends. And I put ideas in the book. It's like help your child find new activities, things outside of school. And I've had other girls say this. I know one teen talked at my church about how her counselor told her to find a couple of boys to be friends with because there wasn't so much drama. So friends, maybe I want joy. So again, you draw it and you write it. And this is all scientific. We have what's called our reticular activating system. Our brain will start helping us find what we want. And then the last part, that's the three hearts. So it's the three bold steps. It's in the middle of your page. You can take some time to pray or meditate, ask, really look inside yourself. What are three big things that you could do to help change? And, that might even be doing that assessment, that survey in the book to help looking at, what are some steps that will really help you. So it's all in the book. I did want to explain this really helped me heal. I did a little part of this. So remember that scene where I walked up to the cafeteria table, all the children left. It was very traumatic. So my coach a couple months ago asked me, um, were there any gifts from that? Did any good come of that? Or, what can you imagine? And I remembered, oh, I became friends with those two boys and they were wonderful. Like I said, they became champions. I love to run then, and they would even come sometimes, and watch me race, so they were just great friends. Um, and then I took it a step further and I realized at this point in my life, I choose who sits at my table. And it's really cool. I can imagine who I want, or I have the friends that I want. I'm adult now. I have the choice. And so that really transformed my life. And now I can talk about my book or anything that happened with joy. And because now I can share my mission without having any of these hard feelings anymore.
I love it because you're making kids think positive for once about a negative situation, and you're basically teaching them a roadmap on how to achieve that goal. And it's fun to do.
Exactly. Yes.
Kimberly, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. If my listeners or watchers on YouTube want to find you, where can they do that?
So it's really simple. It's the title of the book, From Bullied to Brave.com. So you can find it there. If you would like to buy the book, it's on Amazon also, From Bullied to Brave. You can just look it up there. And then if you're really curious about what I'm doing here in the background and you want to see more, I have another website. It's InfiniteImgination.com.
Kimberly, again, thank you for coming on my podcast today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I hope someday we get to collaborate.